Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Guys at Magic. This is Hunter, Riley, Steven, Shane. Say what up, guys.
Hello, hello.
What up, guys?
What's up, nerds?
Welcome back to another episode of Commander Grades. That's right, we were taking a look at Tarkir Dragonstorm, going through all the legendary creatures this video, the multicolored legends, and talking about them as potential commanders. Then we give them a grade, then we give them an average grade, and then, yeah, we just have a discussion. All that jazz and more. So, before we get started, hit the like button if you haven't done so already. Subscribe to the channel so you're staying up to date because you don't want to miss out all the other grades videos. Check the description. There's maybe other grades videos if you haven't seen the other ones. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this first one. This is Betor, Kin to All. It's 2 white, black, and a green for a 5/7 legendary creature spirit dragon. It's got flying, and it says at the beginning of your end step, if creatures you control have total toughness 10 or greater, draw a card. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 20 or greater, untap each creature you control. Then if creatures you control have total toughness 40 or greater, each opponent loses half their life, rounded up. Seems very doable. And Steven, you actually kind of tinkered around with the Betor King to All deck. What do you think of this card?
Oh, I sure did. It's kind of tough. So it is a very fun deck to play, and it's not hard to get that, booty to, 10, 20, or 40. The main issue with this deck is Betor doesn't allow you to swing with defenders. So you're kind of restricted in that aspect to where you have to play with creatures that can swing and also defenders. Obviously, there are ways in this color scheme to get that effect with creatures or enchantments, but it's just kind of one of those things where it's just like it's a little extra hoop to jump through. But then again, being able to basically drain your opponents for half their life rounded up, and then if you have a, I don't know, effect like Bloodlet or Aquazot's out, this is a game ender. So very fun.
That is a game ender for
That's an easy
sure.
little combo too.
I like this card. As someone that has an Arcades deck that just kind of like cares about toughness, I think this is a very cool lane to go down in a different color combination, as well as just doing cool things just because you have those big defenders. I don't know. I like it. I think it's pretty unique, pretty cool.
Kind of scares me though. I'll let you go, Riley.
So you guys keep talking about defenders. My brain actually doesn't go to that at all with this. My brain actually says either let's go wide or let's play around with +1/+1 counters. Just so that I do have creatures that have the ability to just kind of like interact and hurt my opponents. And yeah, getting to 40 total toughness is like super powerful, but if I'm not progressing the game otherwise, I don't know if this is really doing a whole lot for me. Drawing a card every end step, that's going to be very easy to turn on. And then being able to untap, that kind of gives you pseudo vigilance. So if you do have creatures that are capable of getting in, and I don't know, maybe even putting +1/+1 counters on themselves if they deal like combat damage or something, I think that's kind of where my brain wants to go.
I can see that. I can see this game being built 2 different directions, where maybe you're not even focusing on that 40 like you said. But Steven, if you're playing with defenders, imagine you're playing with a bunch of defenders, and you board wipe base or not board wipe, you drain the board twice or 3 times. Yeah, 20, 10, 5, then Betor wins. That's pretty good, dude. That's pretty. I like that.
Here's the thing. Yes, you're right. The main issue is they could just remove one creature,
Very true.
Yep.
and then that in itself kind of like screws up everything. I think the biggest thing is obviously not hard to get to the 10 toughness whatsoever. This card alone puts you right at 7. So just having this and one other creature, you're drawing a card. The untapping is kind of the fun part for me. I think the 40 is where it starts to get a little bit aggressive. And at that point, if you're playing in a pod like the people you see here in front of you on this YouTube video who run an aggressive amount of board wipes, it's very difficult. But again, in the precon for Felothar, it came with a bunch of ways to recur all your creatures, and there's tons of extra spells that weren't in the precon that do the same thing. I do like this card. I just don't think it's like super, super great.
Yeah, I like the ability. I mean, you can also cheat out stuff once that trigger happens, right? Like you can, for example, just in green, you can flash in creatures, cheat out creatures. Just oops, here's some creatures at the end step. I think it's. I don't know. I just keep saying it's cool, and it is cool. I'm here for it.
I just don't like the fact that we're talking about this card in the multi-color grades rather than the precon grades. I think that literally it should have been swapped. This should have been in the Felothar Abzan deck, and then the other Betor Ancestor's Voice should be the one we're talking about here. Because I feel like if we were talking about that one, we'd be having a completely different conversation.
Yeah, they are pretty similar. I mean, similar as in like this would fit into that kind of style of deck. But let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Steven.
Yeah, so obviously not super strong, so I'm not going A, but I think I'm going to go B. I think it is still pretty aggressive. It's a good color format or good color pie chart here, and I think that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I'm actually going to join you. I think Betor is a B.
Yeah, I like his way that he interacts with mana dorks, so I'm here with a B.
Are you guys all just giving him a B because his name's Betor?
No.
All right, well, I am. It's a B.
Well, Shane, good news for you. Betor does start with a B. Average grade, B. Moving on, Eshki Dragonclaw. 1 green, blue, red for a 4/4 legendary creature human warrior. It has vigilance. It has trample. It has ward 1. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast both a creature spell and a non-creature spell this turn, draw a card and put 2 +1/+1 counters on Eshki Dragonclaw. When this was first spoiled, I said, wow, I think I'm going to build this. And the more I thought about it, I was kind of dissuaded. The reason I'm dissuaded is because you really need to cast both. And that's kind of how you're building the deck. I get that. But if you're not casting both, this card just is going to sit around and just have Vigilance Trample Ward 1. Not do anything else.
Nothing to scoff at.
I mean, it's nothing to be impressed by either.
Beat him in the face. You're Voltron, dude.
Yeah, I play a lot of Spell Table, so if you guys see me, that's always fun. I played against this card in a power level 4 or bracket 4, I should say. I'm sorry, and absolutely got demolished. This
True.
this
I watched
person
it.
yeah, Hunter was literally like looking at it happen in person as well, and it sucked. But it just seemed like one of those things where it was like a one-trick pony, and I think that's kind of why I still don't like it. That and it absolutely killed me with commander damage, so that wasn't fun.
There you go.
Yeah, you got hit like with 40 commander damage.
It was so bad. It's so bad.
It's pretty funny.
I've said this many, many times. Ward 1 is flavor text. I don't think that really does anything. So the fact that this card has that doesn't really do anything for me. You also have to cast both a creature and a non-creature spell before combat. There's a lot of restrictions on this card. And because of that, I don't know. I can't.
Does anyone else feel like we're on Shark Tank sometimes?
And for that reason, I'm out.
And for that reason, I'm out.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to the grades. Shane, we'll start with you.
I think I'm middle of the road on this guy. I'm going to have a C.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a C as well.
Jump on the choo-choo train. C.
Yeah, she's going to get a C for me too.
And with that, Eshki Dragonclaw gets the average grade of a C. Next up is Felothar, Dawn of the Abzan. It is white, black, green, 3/3 legendary creature, human warrior. It's got trample, and it says whenever it enters or attacks, you may sacrifice a non-land permanent. When you do, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Riley, I'm kind of sensing this is kind of your lane with sacrifice stuff.
Go wide token sacrifice, buff up the team. Like, yeah, that's pretty solid. Plus, on top of that, it's only 3 mana. So, I mean, getting her in play is relatively cheap. She comes down early, becomes a threat because she can put a +1/+1 counter on herself, too. Plus, I mean, who doesn't love aristocrats shenanigans?
This I feel like can get out of hand very quickly. I love the ability that it's attached to an ETB and an attack trigger, so they just continuously. This does something when it comes down immediately. I am so here for this card.
Yeah, the coloring here is perfect for that strategy too. Kind of nuts. The fact that it's on each of your creatures, dude. Like, oh, you get presents for doing what the deck wants to do, which is probably sacrifice everything, and you get the triggers from things dying, I'm sure, because you're gonna build it that way, and then, oh look, now I get like this. Yeah, this is crazy. Super aggressive.
No, this card is fantastic. 3 mana is like my sweet spot for commander CMCs. I don't even think this being a 3/3 is that big of a deal, just because as soon as it comes down, you're basically going to make it a 4/4, which is really cool. That and like you guys said, the color pie here is fantastic for fun combat tricks, or you can do some protection. I think this really it's a very well-rounded commander.
Yep. Completely agree. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Steven.
Kind of want to give this an A. I really do think this is really, really good. And that's where my heart's at. So yeah, we'll go A.
For me, I do love this combination. I do love the CMC cost of only being 3, but I'm still going to just be B.
I think she is right on that cusp for me. Because of that, I think I'm going to give her a B.
And because of that, I'm in with Steven. A.
Wow. Felothar, Dawn of the Abzan, gets the average grade of an A. Moving on, we've got Kotis, the Fangkeeper. 1 black, green, blue for a 2/1 legendary creature zombie warrior. It's got indestructible and says whenever Kotis deals combat damage to a player, exile the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana costs. Love that ability. Steven, you've actually built this deck. It's on the channel as a deck tech. Check the description if you guys wanted to check it out. So we'll start with you, Steven. How do you feel about Kotis?
Yeah, I love Kotis. I think it's so much fun because it is villainous wealth on a stick. But it's super fun because you're playing your opponent's decks, and I think that's why I like it the most. The only restriction that I've kind of had with Kotis is obviously it has to survive a turn cycle to attack. There are ways to get around it, like Concordant Crossroads, all creatures have haste kind of deal, but then you're allowing your opponents to do some pretty bad things, so that's kind of scary. But I think this is really fun. I like the idea of basically saying I don't really have to build too much on the creature side or the artifact side because I could just get all the fun stuff my opponents have. And it's not hard to get Kotis up to like 5, 6, 7 power and use the deck tech that I built as a guide, but there are so many other cool cards you can put in for, a little bit of a bigger budget.
Yeah, I think this card is pretty cool. This is another thievery deck we've seen with Gandhi in the past and all that other stuff. But what makes this card better? Playing them for free. Just absolutely just bonkers. Just, hey, I get to play all your cards for free. Now, the downside to that is it does say cast and not play. So you do not get to take their lands, which honestly would have been pretty sweet. So if you do flip over some lands, they are just useless to you. But, Shane, you mentioned Voltron. Here's your Voltron commander.
I mean, yeah, and you don't even care if they have a blocker, so it doesn't die unless they have like a drain life effect, right? Like a -1/-1 counter, or like all the, I guess, premium white removal is exile, but whatever. This guy's a banger, dude. Big fan of this guy.
Yeah, that's the other really big restriction, to be honest with you, is that it doesn't have trample.
Yeah, you can throw it on there. You got ways to do it.
Yeah,
you
I
said,
mean,
You're
100%.
green. You're fine.
I think the only thing downside for this for me is I'll say, if you are going to play online, which I know Steven does a lot, I hate those kind of things where you're playing your opponent's stuff, but that's literally the only thing I can think of that's bad.
I do have one complaint in that compared to its mana value, it is very small. So it's cool that it has indestructible, but I can only imagine you're going to run into games fairly frequently where you're just not going to get an opportunity to deal combat damage. And yeah, I know that you can make him unblockable. There's plenty of ways to be able to do it with these colors, but even at that, like, I don't know, he's so snowbally where you want to be able to just like swing and hit and swing and hit and swing and hit and hopefully grow him over time. But I don't know. I just view this as like, this is a commander that, like, if Kotis does die 1 or 2 times, you are really set back.
Yeah.
You are
that.
definitely set back for sure. I think the really fun thing about Kotis is you can put a lot of cool board wipes and they don't kill Kotis. So if you're able to, if you're at that point, just wipe the board. And if Kotis is still a 2/1, you're getting at least the top 2 cards of your opponent's library. But yeah, like Riley said, it's kind of tough sometimes. And I have run into that while goldfishing, but it is rare. It depends on how you build it. I feel at that point, you're basically playing this with as many trample or unblockable effects as possible. And it kind of fills up your deck slots with all those cards, and you basically have to rely on your opponent's decks. So I think that's kind of like that's the one restriction that I don't like.
Yeah, that is a bummer. But let's go ahead and move on to the grades. Steven, we'll start with you.
I built it. It's fun, and I can't give a card that I built and put on our channel anything below an A.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna give it lower than an A. Kotis for me because of two reasons. One, Riley, you mentioned it. The difference of mana value comparatively to power toughness is a big thing. And also just the fact that, like I said, you can't play those lands, and that's a bummer. So this is gonna be a B for me.
We're gonna continue downward. I'm gonna give this a C.
Ooh.
Don't worry, Steven.
Ooh.
I'll go back up. I think it should still be.
All right. Kotis, the Fangkeeper, gets the average grade of a B. Moving on, we are at Narset, Jeskai, Waymaster. It's blue, red, white for a 3/4 legendary creature human monk. It says at the beginning of your end step, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw cards equal to the number of spells you've cast this turn.
Woo.
This is a weird card.
I love this one.
Do you? Tell
Weird
me
but
why.
cool.
This fills up your graveyard incredibly quickly. It rewards you for being spell slingery, so I do like that. And then plus, if you want to play mind games with your opponent, you can drop her and then just discard your hand and be like, I'm gonna draw one.
What in the actual? Okay.
That is such a power move.
Oh, I'm just drawing one. What do you know about that?
I mean, if you have a grip of lands, sure. Otherwise, dumb.
I
Great,
agree.
I don't know. I don't really. I like the other Narset as the obviously the precon commander. This Narset though, not really feeling it.
This one
Yeah, I
is
feel-
fun. I will say I do kind of feel it. I'm above meh, which is cool. I think it's cool because it does reward you for doing the Spellslinger thing, and I think one of the biggest issues Spellslinger decks have is they run out of gas. So to be able to cast all these cantrips and spells and essentially just refill your hand is fantastic. And I think it's really cool because it also doesn't say it has to be a non-creature. It can be whatever it is, whatever amount of spells you've cast that turn. So if you've run out of steam and you just want to continuously draw spells, boom, you're good to go. And if you played a spell that lets you draw cards and they're 2 lands, dump them. Get some other stuff.
Dude, but what happens, Steven, when you have that sick explosive turn like I have, and you dump it, and then you just brick your hand, and then you're screwed.
Well, what were you going to do? Just draw all those cards slowly?
I guess you're
I'd rather draw all 5 of those cards right then and there.
Good point. It's a good point.
Gary style.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Spellslinger, obviously this is a very good card, right? You guys have already mentioned it. You just refill your hand pretty much instantly. Granted, it would be sad if your opponent was just waiting on removal till you got to your end step. And then you're just like, okay, I'm out of cards.
That only happens to people named Hunter.
That's true. But Steven, you didn't say it. I'm gonna say it. I think it's meh. I don't like this card.
I think that's exactly like another one of the things that I like about this, though. I feel like this is one of those decks that like somebody sits down with at a table and you look at and you go like, okay, well, it just kind of like does a very, I guess, meh thing, but it's kind of got like a hidden power level to it. And I feel like you watch this like tick one time, and like what Steven was mentioned with cantrips and little things like that, like I could see it very, very possible where this is drawing you 10 cards per turn. And then the cards that you're throwing into your graveyard, you're in Jeskai, you're playing in and the card color combination, I guess it has like flashback and now we have harmonize and like all these things where it's just like you're basically just having a second hand. I like her a lot. And I think she flies under the radar.
Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you then, Riley.
I'm gonna give her a B.
I'm gonna go one lower. I'm gonna give her a C.
I'm going to go one higher, and I'm going to give it a B.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go A. I was like, what's happening? I'm gonna go one lower and give it a C.
Well, Narset Jeskai Waymaster gets the average grade of a B.
Yeah, you won.
Moving on to Neriv, Heart of the Storm. 1 red, white, black, 4/5 legendary creature, Spirit Dragon. It's got flying. It says if a creature you control that entered this turn would deal damage, it deals twice that much damage instead. I am a fan of this card. Steven, you also tinkered around with this, right?
I did. We did a poll on our Patreon, which if you guys are members, you can always vote, which is really cool. So Neriv was another card that was asked for deck tech, and I built it in a way where you could deal a lot of damage. It's not my play style. I don't really play Mardu that often unless I play Edgar Markov because I'm that kind of person. But it is very fun because if you build it haste and other damage doublers run rampant in this color format, it can get aggressive very fast. And it's kind of terrifying. If you build a token strategy as well with Mobilize with this new mechanic from the set, I think is really fun. Uh, yeah, I think it's all around a pretty interesting card.
Hate smash. That's what it is, right?
Haste Kindred,
Aggressive,
dude.
aggressive Mardu. That's what you want.
The
And
thing the
that's what
hunter
this
loves
is.
doing. Turning things
Yeah, this is
sideways.
about as aggro as it
Yeah,
gets.
yeah. I like to turn my card
Got it.
sideways and win.
It's got to enter. I mean, I mentioned it in another video when I did the other kind of Narev backup. I threw this in there. This card's fun because, hey, let's say you have a Perforos that entered, and then you have other cards after that. This is saying that Perforos is now dealing double that much damage, so it's dealing 4 damage to each opponent. That's fun.
You do have to be careful with that, though. That's only the turn that Perforos comes down.
Oh
And
no,
then
Yeah, but
then
then it's
it's
only
gonna do
dealing
damage.
2
Yeah,
damage.
yeah.
Oh God.
Oh, that's why I'm like, okay, realistically speaking, if somebody's popping a Perforos, you need to probably deal with them immediately.
True.
I like how obviously, yes, you guys mentioned haste with this. My mind kind of veers away from that and instead goes with more like the Warstorm Surge style of effects, where it's like I don't even care if my creature has to be able to connect. Just me getting one into play is going to be dealing damage, or other creatures that have ETBs that have them be able to deal some amount, like a Flame Tongue Kavu type style of thing. I don't know. My other thought here being too is that like if I ever wanted to play like Ball Lightning, this would be the deck that I would put it in.
Spoiler, I will say that is I added this. I added that to this deck.
Okay.
The
So
one thing I will say, and I'll end it on this, the one thing that is very restrictive on this deck is it requires a ton of setup, and it is very mana intensive to a certain degree. And I think that's kind of why I'm not a huge fan of this. It's you need so much mana to do certain things, and if you don't, you're still doing things, which is fun, but like it just if some person at the table responds and gets rid of a certain piece, it can be very detrimental to the game plan. And that's where I'm not a huge fan of it.
let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Steven.
I think if it wasn't so mana intensive, I'd probably give this an A because this smashes face so hard. But for that reason, I'm going down to a B.
It is a
I'll go
big
high.
scary. It's a big scary threat, and I think Steven mentioned something really important. Is that like it does require that setup? And now that I'm thinking about it, I mentioned Flame Tongue Kavu and Ball Lightning, and those are 2 cards that are honestly awful. So if you're playing bad cards, hoping to make them good with your commander, it's fragile. I'm gonna give this a C.
Yeah, I'm on board with you there, Riley. I think Narev for me is a C as well.
I agree. Middle of the road C for me.
Well, Narev, Heart of the Storm, gets the average grade of a C. Next up, we've got Shiko, Paragon of the Way, 2 blue, red, white for a 4/5 legendary creature Spirit Dragon. It's got flying, it's got vigilance. It says when it enters, exile target non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. Copy it. Then you may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. This is a weird card. What do you think about this, Shane?
It is a weird card. I was just trying to think in my head how it relates to the other Shiko Precon, and I get that it's copying, so it's there, I guess. But yeah, it's interesting. It's gonna have you fill your graveyard up, and then, or maybe not even fill it up, I guess. Maybe it's just, this is just saying you get multiple instances of things, which is kind of cool. So you get it for the one time, and then if it dies or you cast it, then boom, to do it again. So that's pretty cool. and you're casting it without paying its mana cost. That part, super strong. Free spells, what? What are they? Never bad.
Never bad, but I think you just said it and maybe not realized it. You cast the copy,
That's
which
good.
is such an important key word in that sentence
That's
for
good, I
Storm
think.
players.
That's
It is
exactly.
huge.
Typically, you don't cast copies.
You have to blink this to make it
Yeah.
better.
Sorry, I guess. Yeah, I just immediately thought that everyone was just like, "Oh yeah, just build this as blink." This is a fantastic commander, and I do love it. It being 5 mana is a bit aggressive, but I think that's good because this gives you time to fill your graveyard, which is really cool. And I think having the other Narset in this deck as a support piece is super fantastic as well. I am 100% here for this because you're just playing a bunch of cantrippy spells that are basically just given flashback with Shiko, and that's so cool.
Guys, I know
Awesome.
our brains all went to it because it's Jeskai. It says non-land card. You can do this with enchantments. You can do this with
Yeah.
creatures. There's a whole world of possibilities out there.
Oh, that's for sure. There is currently a combo in standard right now with this card. And 3 blind mice, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
The saga.
Where that copies the saga that says when it enters, you make a mouse, and then the second part of the saga says make a copy of token copy, which this makes a token copy of that saga, so it just continues to make more sagas and just
Sick.
blows up. It's
Yeah,
pretty
300
wild.
billion blind mice.
Exactly.
It's a very
You can
slow win.
you can do it in EDH, same combo. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems cool, right? But I just don't know if it's not something I would play.
Yeah, it
I
doesn't
do,
say anything about +1/+1 counters.
True.
I do think that it's really interesting. Do you see the flavor text down at the bottom of this card where it has power and toughness? I don't
That's
think
the
I'm ever
flavor
going to
text.
swing with this. I think if you can get this to pop, you just win. So, like,
I thought you were referring to reminding you what happens when you make a copy of a permanent. I was like, what, you get a
No,
token? Got it.
no, they're. I think you get it. Never mind.
I get it now, Steven. Come
All right,
Okay.
here we go.
on.
Moving on to the grades. We will start with Shane.
I like Shiko. The more I think about it, the more I like it. I think I'm gonna give it a B.
I am gonna go down 1 grade to a C for Shiko.
I am so torn. I feel like this is another one of those borderline cards, but just because of like the threat level on this, I'm gonna give it a B.
I will give it a B as well. I really wanted to give this an A because it has everything that I want. Blue for protection, white for card draw, red for discard to fill your. So perfect. B.
Shiko, Paragon of the Way, gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to another Spirit Dragon, we've got Teval, Arbiter of Virtue. 2 black, green, blue, 6/6 legendary creature Spirit Dragon. It's got flying, it's got lifelink, and says spells you cast have delve. As a reminder, what does that mean? Each card you exile from your graveyard while casting those spells pays for 1. And whenever you cast a spell, you lose life equal to its mana value. Now, when this card was first spoiled, I immediately went and said, Riley, I think I found a card for you. And you saw it and you said, oh my god, it's perfect. And then you realized you would die very quickly.
That doesn't change the fact that it's perfect. I think this card is really cool. If you want to play Gristlebrand in Commander, this is like as close of an effect I think is what we're probably going to get for the time being. I mean, it's a big body. It's reliably going to be able to get in, so you'll be able to get that lifelink. Delve, one of the most powerful mechanics ever printed. The only downside with this is you're going to lose a massive amount of life for just simply playing Magic. But there are so many ways to take advantage of that, and there's so many cards that like you don't care because it's just going to gain you all the life back, and they're going to pummel your opponents in the process.
Super scary, dude.
Yeah, Riley, you're absolutely correct. I think this will kill you fast for just playing Magic. I think this card would have been broken if it said whenever you cast a spell with Delve, you lose life. Just being able to just cast spells no matter where they come from or how you cast them, you lose life. So it's crazy to me.
It's like the biggest game of tug of war. I'm gonna swing in, gain my 6, maybe more. You know, maybe you make your commander bigger, and then I'm gonna cast something and I lose it all. And I'm gonna gain some, and I'm gonna lose it all. That's really scary.
Yeah, it is very scary.
So when this card came out, I was so excited because I thought the same as Riley. It's perfect. But at the same time, every time I've played against this in a game of Spell Table or I've seen a video of it online, every deck is almost a carbon copy. You have to basically play the same cards at Dredge. You have to play the same cards so you don't lose life. You can't lose the game for having 0 life. It's very one dimensional, and I get it, but I like commanders where you can do one thing or another thing, and maybe have a little bit more versatility. I think with Teval, my biggest issue with it is just one way to win. And now that I'm talking about it, that is me. Never mind. I like it.
I was about to say the will help player with the combo is saying this.
I tricked you.
You
All right.
tricked yourself, dude.
I think we've all said our piece about the Vol. Let's go ahead and move on to the grades. We will start with you, Riley.
Oh, I love this card so much because of that one-dimensional aspect and because I can see this so easily being a card that only gets played whenever I'm trying to close out the game and combo off. I'm going to give this a B.
I don't want to give it a B, but I will give it a B.
You know, I see how powerful it is, and I too am going to give it a B.
Wow. I see. I'm gonna die if I play this card. I'm gonna give it C.
Teval, Arbiter of Virtue, gets the average grade of a B. Moving on to the final Spirit Dragon, it's Ureni, the Song Unending. 5 green, blue, red for a 10/10 legendary creature Spirit Dragon. It's got flying, it's got protection from white and from black. It says when it enters, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers your opponents control, where X is the number of lands you control. Pretty wild, Steven.
Yeah. So cool.
You
You don't like
sound
it?
so excited.
No, I don't know why everyone's so hype about this card. I don't think it's great.
So I have played around with this card, and I'm not going to lie. This is just a Tarka with blue, but it's more
Yeah.
Actually, I guess it's not. It's no. I think it is more expensive because the one that I'm thinking of, like the other one that like deals damage,
4
is
damage.
yeah. No,
Or
I think
5,
it
I'm
deals
sorry.
5. It
Five,
deals 5,
five.
but
Yeah, 5.
oftentimes whenever I play this card, it's like, okay, well, I have mana rocks in play, so it's like it's still doing like 5 damage. The upside is the creature is gigantic and it has protection from removal.
Yeah. I think that's pretty good.
It's a big
Getting
dumb beater,
protection.
dude.
It's got flying.
And
Wow.
protection. This is a big dumb beater that will kill you, sadly, in 3 hits, so it doesn't need to have 10. It could have 7.
I guess you could buff it a little bit, right?
By 1
By
in
1.
green? Where are you going to do that?
I don't know. I'm gonna put counters on it. Green loves counters.
I am
I
bummed that you
don't
can't
like
target
it.
a player. I wish you could target a player. That would make this card so much more powerful, in my opinion.
Well,
I
you
wish that
can't
guy
though.
down there would step off from that ledge.
My
Jesus.
friend.
Any thoughts,
I
Shane?
think I think literally that's it. We're done.
That's it. All right. I think we all kind of summed that up. Let's move on to the grades for Ureni. We'll start with Steven.
Because it has protection from removal, I will give this a D.
Wow.
Yeah.
Aggressive.
I'm gonna give it a C. I think it's okay.
This has Big Scary written all over it, but it's 1,000,000 mana. I'm gonna give this a C.
Yeah. I can't do it, Steven. Nothing lower than a C for me.
No, you're fine. I can't give this a good grade like that.
Ureni, the Song Unending, gets the average grade of a C.
Roast me in the comments.
And the final legendary creature we will be talking about today is Zurgo, Thunder's Decree. It is a red, a white, and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature Orc Warrior. It's got Mobilize of 2. In case you don't remember what that is, it says whenever this creature attacks, create 2 tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature tokens. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. But wait! It also says during your end step, warrior tokens you control have this token can't be sacrificed.
Whoa. Hunter, you
Well,
love this card.
I think it's a very cool card, and it's very on flavor with the other mobilize triggers. I think this is very cool. Very Mardu. But I don't know if it's that powerful. It seems like a lot of hoops just to keep your tokens around.
Hey, you want to keep
What do you
those
mean
around
hoops?
now.
It's on like one card.
Yeah, I know. This one card is trying to keep your tokens around, specifically warrior tokens at end step.
One would say one-dimensional.
Yeah, just if you're trying to play anything else about tokens, maybe just pick up the precon.
It seems like a good support piece. If I'm being
Yeah.
completely honest with you.
That's why I threw it in the precon.
Yeah, I think it goes great in the precon.
I
don't
really
know.
want to like this card. I just
Yeah.
feel like I feel like the when this thing was sacrificed maybe is like why I'm so hung up on this. Like if this worked with Myriad, I think I would love it. But because those triggers, those tokens are going to get exiled after combat,
Yeah.
this does nothing.
Yeah, it's a bummer. I mean, there are a bunch of
Yeah.
things besides Immobilize, right, Hunter? Aren't there other things that make... Oh, wait, they might not make warriors, though.
And that was my
Specific
thought is
warriors.
like play good warriors or play I forgot the name of the enchantment or not enchantment, the artifact that makes like all of your creatures every creature type so that your everything
Masswood
is now a
Nexus.
warrior. There you go.
That's true.
So
Yeah, it's.
I don't know.
I
So the reason why I think this card is great is because of all of the set mechanics that said mobilize, whatever. Mardu really cared about mobilize, and in that aspect, you can build a whole bunch of things that will basically just let you do the thing. And I really like the fact that they came out with the all-out assault enchantment, making all of your tokens have death touch. So I think the one restriction that I hated about this is they're 1/1s. But if you give all your tokens death touch, I think the 1/1 swinging are pretty scary. And you being able to keep them around is really fun. And building ways to hurt people with tokens is definitely a way to play Magic. And Hunter, I'm surprised you're not higher on this card with the fact you can throw Perforos in it. I know how much of a Perforos lover you are.
I'm just saying, if you're trying to run kind of. Oh, okay. Yes, Steve and I completely agree. This is a great commander if you're trying to build around the set itself. If you're trying to build around a little bit more, maybe go with a different commander if you're caring about tokens, because it doesn't really do anything besides the warrior tokens you control can't be sacrificed.
True.
That's it.
This is going to be my mobilized deck.
That's exactly what this would be, right? A mobilized deck, specifically around this set. And that's cool. But let's go ahead and move on to the grades. I will kick us off. I think Zurgo, like I said, cool, but middle of the road for me. It's going to get a C.
because of the limitations that are put on this card, I'm gonna actually step below that. I'm gonna give this a D.
I think it's middle of the road. I'm going to give it a C as well.
Well, guys, I'm going to be that guy. And I'm going to give this a pretty solid score. And I think that score is going to be a C.
All right.
Well, you tried to trick us, huh? Zurgo Thunder's Decree gets the average grade of a C. And that is going to do it for us today. If you guys liked that video, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you're staying up to date with everything else that we got putting out. You don't want to miss it, including more videos like this one, Commander Grades. Comment down below. Did you guys agree with these grades? Maybe you disagreed with them. Always interested to hear your guys' opinions. Check it out. And while you're down there, check the description. You'll find links to all of our social media accounts. Follow us on those if you haven't done so already, so you're staying up to date with everything else that we got putting out on those platforms. And on the screen right now, those are all of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your added support. It really does mean the world to us. If you guys wanted to check out what they're seeing, which is not here on YouTube, please check the link in the description below and consider subscribing. And a very special shout out to our Gains Indestructible tier, starting with
Brian Ganyella.
Daryl Tripp.
Demarion Turner,
Dr. Rome.
Jimmy Ward.
Kevo.
Larry Killian,
Thrifty PSGR.
And the infamous Tim K.
Thank you guys so much for your added support. You guys are awesome. Appreciate every single one of you. And until the next video, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.
Later.
Look at the deck text later.
Bye-bye.